Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I kind of came in on this partway through, and I got there just as some explosions were going on in this hearing. Now, for the most part, it was actually a pretty well-behaved hearing, although some of the people were, implying that the Homeland Security is a puppet of Trump, and that, they're mindlessly carrying out his orders and everything, and well, but they're supposed to be carrying out his orders because, he's kind of the guy in charge. So, it's really weird how they're looking at things now. I wish they would have done this much skepticism during Obama's 2 terms. Yeah, that would have been great, wouldn't it? But anyway, this is Benny G. Thompson, and he is the head of the Homeland Security Committee, which is in the House, and that means, yes, he's a Democrat. But, he's definitely biased. There's no doubt about that, but you can't hardly not have a bias these days, it seems like. Anyway, I don't know too much about him himself, just what I heard in the hearing. And so here's McAleenan, and he is the Acting Secretary of Homeland Security right now. And so he was grilled about the 2020 budget that they're putting up for fiscal year 2020. And so, yeah, they were going at it. And I will show you some other clips, but I really want to show you this one to start out with because this is what happened about 50 minutes in, 55 minutes, something like that. And I'll put the link to this down below if you want to watch the whole thing, but I'll have the whole clip down there that you can see.
From Illinois, Ms. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Acting Secretary McAleenan, you told MSNBC that families at the border are being separated in a humane and civilized way. Let me tell you, sir, that the people of Illinois' 14th District do not think that this policy is civilized. And as a nurse, I can tell you that it's definitely not humane. And we know that there are alternatives like family case management that keep our country safe and secure without traumatizing innocent kids. Yes or no, can you commit that DHS will not restart family separations under your leadership?
So the President of the United States has said that we're not looking at doing that again. There's an executive order in place that says we're not going to take zero tolerance prosecutions, not family separations, but prosecuting adults that are violating the law and resulted in separations. We're not going to restart that right now. Okay, so you have made a commitment then that you will not restart family separations under your leadership. So I think the President's statement suffices as a commitment for the administration. Okay. Now, I want to know whether you're aware of what family separation does to children's mental and physical health. I only have 5 minutes, so for these questions, I'm looking for a yes or no answer, sir. Are you aware of research showing that family separation causes trauma that can do both immediate and long-term damage to children's health? Yes or no? So you're asking questions about something that's not happening, Congresswoman. So the separations that are occurring now are only in result of the prosecution of the adult for a serious criminal offense. I'm not asking about that. Welfare of the child, communicable disease. Claiming my time, that was not the line of questioning. My questioning was, are you aware of the impact of family separation and the trauma on children's long-term physical and mental health? Okay, again, you're asking about something that we're not doing. So I'm not sure this line of questioning is going to be effective. The question is, are you aware? Are you, sir, as the Acting Secretary of DHS, aware of research that shows that family separation causes trauma? Yeah, I've talked to Dr. Colleen Kraft of the American Association of Pediatricians. I am aware of the research, and we solicit support and input from pediatricians in managing our responsibilities at the border. Great. Are you aware that the trauma of family separation is connected to something called toxic stress? Yes, again, you're asking about something we're not doing. Great, but you're aware? Yeah, I'm aware of the research, as I noted. And then are you aware that toxic stress can actually change a child's brain because it's still developing, yes or no? I've read the study. Okay, great. Are you aware that the effects of these traumas are cumulative, that they get worse the longer the trauma goes on? I think I've answered this line of questioning. Yes. I've already said I'm familiar. Okay, are you aware that the traumatic effects don't go away even if a child is reunited with their family? Again, you're asking about something we're not doing, so yes, I'm aware, and it's not being done. Are you aware that family separation can lead to behavioral changes and learning delays for children? I think I've answered this line of questioning. I've already answered. You're talking about the same research.
Mr. Secretary, just answer the question, yes or no. I'm probably the most reasonable chairman. Just answer the question. She just said yes or no.
I've already answered yes, Mr. Chairman. It's the same study that she's citing in different parts of it. So if I've acknowledged that I'm familiar with it, that's probably sufficient.
It's not.
Okay.
Yes, you're aware.
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that family separation can lead to behavioral changes and learning delays for children?
Yes, I've read
Okay.
the study.
Are you aware that it increases a child's risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer?
Yes, I've read the study.
Okay. Are you aware that it increases a child's risk of anxiety, depression, and substance abuse?
Yes, I've read the study.
Great. In fact, the American Psychological Association reports that, quote, family separation is on par with beating and torture in terms of its relationship to mental health. Are you aware of that?
I'm familiar with this information. Thank you.
Okay. The truth is, sir, that family separation does irreparable damage to children while doing nothing for our national security. It's immoral, it's un-American, and it's just plain wrong. And I am glad to hear you say that it's not happening, sir. But I went to the border last month, and I was truly shocked by the conditions that I saw there. Medical care was inconsistent at best, and the accommodations were inadequate. Just last week, we saw new photos of detained children sleeping outside on the dirt at a Border Patrol station in McAleenan, Texas. And on Monday, we learned that a fifth migrant child died in custody since family separation began. These stories are appalling, and yet they keep happening. Now, Congress just provided $500 million in February to address the humanitarian crisis at the border, and will soon provide more. Why do these tragedies keep happening?
So they're happening because the crisis is exceeding the resources provided. That's why we've asked for more, and we've asked for more authority to deal with it to prevent this crisis from happening in the first place and from the children being put at risk. We've deployed the funding from FY19 that Congress has authorized. We've increased our temporary facilities by 500 beds in Donna, by 500 in El Paso. We've got 3 additional soft-sided facilities coming online in June. We've deployed medical practitioners. We now have over 100 certified medical practitioners in our 2 busiest sectors.
Right, but
we've
people
asked
keep
for
dying,
more money
sir.
to extend that.
People keep dying, and so this is obviously more than a question of resources. Congress has been more than willing to provide the resources and work with you to address the security and humanitarian concerns, but at this point, with 5 kids that have died, 5,000 separated from their families, I feel like, and the evidence is really clear, that this is intentional. It's intentional. It's a policy choice being made on purpose by this administration, and it's cruel and inhumane. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
That's an appalling accusation, and our men and women fight hard to protect people in our custody every single day. We've asked for this resources 3 weeks ago. It hasn't been responded to by Congress, and we've asked for changes in authorities for the last 3 years that would have prevented this from happening.
Mr. Chairman, I should be recognized.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Gentleman asks to be recognized.
I make a motion that the lady's words be taken down.
Motion dies for lack of a second. It's already died. Gentleman from New York, recognized for 5 minutes. Mr. Cacko.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I want to pause. You didn't call for a second.
Yes. Well, counsel had asked me to ask Ms. Underwood to clarify her statement for the record.
I will be happy to, Mr. Chairman. I said that this is more than a question of resources. Congress has been more than willing to provide resources and to work with you, Mr. Secretary, to address these security and humanitarian concerns. And at this point, with 5 children dead and 5,000 separated from their families, this is intentional. It's a policy choice being made on purpose by this administration, and it's cruel and inhumane. I yield back.
And Mr. Chairman, you cannot impugn the character of the witness by stating that he intentionally murders children. That is completely inappropriate, and her words should be taken down. She was very explicit.
Well, and I asked her to rephrase it. She just did.
She did not. She restated it.
I restated. I did not say murder. I said that 5 children have died as a result of a policy choice that he has said.
You said it was intentional.
Excuse me, sir. I'm still talking. He has said that he stands by the policy decisions of this administration. That's what he said at the beginning of his testimony. And he says he stands by the budget request. This is a policy choice.
And he has said the policy is they stopped those detentions. They don't do it in those separations. He's made that clear repeatedly. You refused to listen to him. That's not the point. You said he intentionally supported policies that caused the death of children. That is wrong. Your words need to be taken down. Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ranking member, this happened this week. Yesterday, another child died under his leadership.
Because we can't get the resources to help them. That's what he's here trying to get, is the money to stop this.
Well, Chair, we'll call for a vote. I will not take the vote to take down the words. We'll ask. Well, thank you very much. The chair rules that the language is appropriate and that it should not be taken down.
Like a recorded vote on that.
Request for a recorded vote has been called. We'll ask the clerk to call the roll. Okay. For what purpose does the gentleman seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I appeal the ruling of the chair.
The gentleman from Alabama moves to appeal the ruling of the chair. The question now appears, shall the ruling of the chair stand and the ruling of the committee? Those in favor of opposing the chair's opinion, vote aye. Those opposed, vote nay. Clerk will call the roll.
So then they took the vote, and it just so happened that a bunch of the Democrats, after they said their piece, like, you know, good old Sheila Jackson Lee, when she got done, she got up and left. Oh, well, so what happened? There were more Republicans there than there were Democrats, so the Republicans won. So yeah, they had to strike her comment because of that. Now, I don't really understand, what that means, because it's still out there and people can still hear it. But yeah, she just blatantly accused them of purposely killing kids. And what they're not taking into consideration, this whole thing, is that these children are being brought up through Mexico, and it's a very hard journey that they're making. That's when they're getting sick. And then they arrive on our border sick. We give them care, but it's not enough because they are too sick by then. And they die. That's not our fault. It's not the fault of our Homeland Security people. It's the fault of these parents and these coyotes, these people that are trafficking them, that are using them to come across our border. They're the people that we should be blaming. But oh no, we can't do that. She has to turn around and say that they're purposely doing this. It's ridiculous. Now, this is so heartbreaking because those people who are working on our border, they do care about the people coming across. They do care about the kids. You heard what McAleenan said. He kept saying it over and over. Yes, he read that study, but you know what? We're not doing that, so it doesn't apply. But she kept pushing it, and this is how they work. They take something that's not true, they keep pushing on it, and it's like, well, but we're not doing this, so why are you talking about it? It's crazy. It's just crazy the way it's working. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. And then I've got a couple other clips that I want to point out because some of them had some graphics that I thought were really, really good. And I really thought that McAleenan did a good job talking about the Flores judgment, the decision that is causing a lot of this problem. And so if you really don't understand the Flores decision, this is a good summary of it so you can understand how it's impacting things that are happening on the border.
So what we're seeing now is about 65% of those crossings are either family units or unaccompanied children. Family units have reached a record level, 59% so far this month of our total crossings on the border. That is a direct response to the vulnerability in our legal framework caused by a decision in a district court in late 2015, upheld in 2016, that prevented DHS from keeping families together during their immigration proceedings. That's what we did under President Obama and Secretary Johnson. They built family residential centers where families were kept together for their immigration proceedings. It took on average about 45 days. And at the end of that process, and these are appropriate settings that have schoolhouses, they have recreational facilities, they have medical centers, they have courtrooms on site. After those proceedings, families would know whether they had a valid asylum claim and be allowed to stay in the U.S. or they would be repatriated. As soon as those repatriations started happening, the flow dropped dramatically from our first border crisis in 2014 with families and kids. We no longer have that tool, we no longer have that authority, and now we have twice the flow coming in a direct response to that lack of our authority.
And what could we do to alleviate that problem for you?
Simply return to the status that we had in 2014, 2015, allowing families to be kept together in appropriate settings during their immigration proceedings.
Well, my understanding from our meeting yesterday is that you're going to provide us language that would do that. And it's my hope that the chairman and I can bring that before this committee for a vote as soon as possible so we can get you some relief.
And then I want to finish with this really great job that Higgins did, Representative Higgins, because he allowed McAleenan to talk and to give the answers that he really needed to give to kind of summarize everything that's going on. So I want to play this one for you.
Louisiana, Mr. Higgins, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you for your service, sir, and thank you for maintaining your professional bearing despite some of the tone you face today. My colleagues across the aisle mentioned the word squander regarding the president's budget. Well, the American treasure is certainly subject to close scrutiny by the American people that provide it. The American people certainly do recognize the well-established fact that politicians and bureaucrats in D.C. squander the money seized from the paychecks of working Americans. However, the citizenry does not consider national security, Homeland Security, to be a waste of money. I could name scores of federal expenditures that squander the people's treasure, but securing our borders and maintaining our very sovereignty is perhaps the single most important mission the federal government should accomplish, and is certainly not squandering. Decisions regarding the essential needs of law enforcement to secure our homeland should be determined by the Department of Homeland Security, law enforcement professionals, not by career politicians in D.C. and unknown, unelected bureaucrats. So thank you, sir, for representing those law enforcement professionals and their needs today. I ask you, is the Department of Homeland Security making progress towards achieving operational control of our southwest border?
We are. Through a combination of the investments in 18, the received funding in 19, the border barrier is going to make a big impact.
Roger that. Will the president's budget, as submitted, if approved by this Congress, would it help you to accomplish your mission?
Absolutely. It will accelerate our efforts.
Thank you, sir. Since President Trump entered office, how many replacement miles, secondary miles, or new linear miles of enhanced physical barrier system have been funded on the southwest border, and how many have been completed or are currently being built? Give us an idea of that, please.
Sure. So out of the $3.6 billion in FY17, 18, 19 funding, and money from the Treasury Forfeiture Fund, we're applying that currently to fund a total of 336 miles of border wall.
You're getting the job done, sir.
Yes.
With the money that's been provided.
We're going to get part of the job done.
Roger that.
We've asked for more.
And you need, as a law enforcement professional, as a Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, in charge of securing our southern border and the sovereignty of our nation, do you concur with the budget request as it's been submitted?
I absolutely do, and this request comes from our men and women on the ground, the capabilities.
As it should. The approximately 300 miles for the fiscal year 2020 budget to be prioritized along the southwest border. That's my understanding. Can you explain why?
Why would be prioritized?
Why that money would be prioritized for enhanced physical barrier along the southwest border, particularly. Explain to the American people why, please.
Yeah, southwest border has two dynamics on the border security front. We've got 30 to 40,000 people a month trying to evade capture crossing that border, and we have increasing amounts of drug smuggling, and we're talking about hard narcotics, potent opioids like fentanyl, synthetic opioids that are killing Americans and communities all over the country.
Many Americans are dying from this poison pouring across our border. I would concur, and will enhance physical barriers as requested by the Department of Homeland Security and as evaluated as necessary by the law enforcement professionals on the ground, do you concur that enhanced physical barriers will help you accomplish your mission?
Yes.
Thank you. What technological advancements along the borders have been implemented generally, and how will the fiscal year 2020 budget further those investments?
I'll make three key points on that. One, every mile of border barrier comes with technology. It comes with fiber optic sensors, cameras, lighting. It's not just a dumb wall. It's fully supported by technology that tells our agents what's happening in those areas.
You said something. It is indeed a quote-unquote smart wall, is it not, good sir?
No question. It's a smart barrier. Secondly, the 2020 budget would continue to fund our innovative tower effort to provide surveillance capability in those areas where we don't have border barrier, to extend our view of the border and cue agents on where to respond. Third, it would put sensors in aircraft that are higher resolution and that are modernized that help surveil the border from the air.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Yes or no? If Congress passed a law correcting the flaws and loopholes in the Flores settlement, would that help us control this flow?
That would help dramatically.
Thank you, sir. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Now, if I really were patient enough, I would put in the Sheila Jackson Lee one, but frankly, I don't want to hear her talking again. I mean, if you want to watch it, again, the clip will be down below. Hers was like, I think she was the first one after you had the opening statement by the chairman and then the ranking member. So I think hers was the next one, if I remember correctly, about 20 minutes in, 22 minutes in. So if you want to see that, again, the link will be down below. You can click on it and watch it on your own. But hers could be summarized by saying, I hate Trump. I mean, seriously, that is pretty much what she was putting out there, that she just loathes Trump so much that she is the poster child for Trump derangement syndrome right now, I think. And I think a big reason, remember, those who yell the loudest, and I think she's one of them that's yelling pretty loud these days. And she's had some symbolism on her that has been very questionable lately. And I don't know about that pin she had on today. I don't know if that was something significant or not. I'm going to, check out the researchers and see if they know anything about it. But yeah, so that's what I've got for you on this one. And for the most part, compared to the judiciary that's been going on, it was actually, they were behaving themselves and they weren't too bad. And there was one lady who was from New Mexico, I believe. Her last name was Small. She actually asked very good questions and she treated him pretty well. And she was a Democrat. So, it's not all of them, but there are just so many of the leaders right now that are being Jerry Nadlers. And did you hear Trump's comment on Jerry Nadler today? Yeah, I'm going to play that. I'll put it in here and I'll play that. Okay?
They want to interview Jerry Nadler, who's been an enemy of mine for many years. He fought me in New York unsuccessfully, by the way. I've had great success against Jerry. But he was representing Manhattan, and he would fight me all the time on the West Side Railroad yards many times, very unsuccessfully. He failed. I come to Washington, I become president, and I said, oh no, I have Jerry Nadler again?
So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.